All right, and we in it.
All right.
Welcome everybody. We here. It's week 4 of the college football season, man. We're a quarter of the way through. We had some good games last weekend, some surprising outcomes, so on and so forth. What y'all got going on?
Man, I think this week right here, man, I think we got a lot of film on a lot of teams. I think you pretty much understand exactly what teams looking like, what their potential is going to be. I think that the way we thought this season was going to play out so far has been really not how we really thought it was going to be. I thought a lot of things have been kind of shockers. Like, for example, like Oklahoma to me being one of the best teams in the SEC this year. I did not see that coming. And like Florida falling flat on their face this year and DJ Lagway looking like one of the worst quarterbacks in the country. That's something else I haven't seen. I did not foresee this year. So, man, y'all tell me what y'all thoughts are, man. This season's been spectacular so far, and especially having to meet the game of the year with Georgia, Tennessee last weekend. Oh yeah, man, this season's ready to rock and roll.
Man, I think you got some interesting games coming up this week. I think Auburn, Oklahoma is probably the most intriguing game to me because this is going to be really weird when I say this. But the winner of this game will be 4-0. And in the SEC, what I'm calling the old SEC West, really is controlling their destiny at this particular point in time. You know what I'm saying? I'm not really sold completely on Oklahoma. I'm not completely sold on Auburn, but I believe all of us agreed at the beginning of this season that these were two teams that we were going to have to watch out for and could potentially play spoiler and maybe make a little noise toward the end here. So we'll see. Honestly, as far as Hugh Freeze is concerned, he needs a signature win because he's been at Auburn longer than old boy's been at Oklahoma. I think Hugh needs it more. It's kind of funny because here in the state of Alabama, the chatter's been kind of quiet about this game. Not a whole lot of noise going on, which kind of makes me feel like, maybe Auburn's a little more focused. I have no idea. It's going to be a good game regardless. I think what Bama showed us, or what Ty Simpson showed us last week, was quite impressive. I actually thought Wisconsin looked. I was watching the trenches of that game a good bit. I'm not sitting up here saying Wisconsin's a world beater. Alabama just beat a team that's contending for a national championship, but their defensive line did enough to make us throw the ball as often as we did. Right. I was glad to see Ryan Grubb make the adjustment to go away from the run and take what was working, which just so happened to be the same thing that worked last week, which was an intermediate passing game from Ty Simpson that almost looked to be completely unstoppable. So we'll see. The jury is still out. I'm still not sold, but much better showing there. Carolina. I'm sure we'll get into that a little bit. LSU looked all right. Brian Kelly is fluffing the media up pretty good right now. It was a good week. It was the first really good weekend of college football, if you want to ask me. And I think we got a lot to springboard off of that moving forward week to week.
Yeah. So just as a quick recap to go back over past weekend before we start talking about the upcoming matchups, starting off with y'all's, especially the Alabama game, looking at everything like that. What are y'all's biggest? I know the passing game has looked phenomenal for the past 2 weeks. Running the ball, is that something that's going to be an issue for them in the long run? The SEC is a predominantly, you got to be able to run the ball type of league. And you said the trenches were a good fight, did that have something to do with it? But, not seeing that nobody had over, I think it was 30 yards. Nobody had over 30 yards rushing against Wisconsin. Is that alarming, or is it just like, hey, just the explosive plays in the pass game were just that good where we just didn't really need to?
So for me, real quick, I got a good answer for that question. If you go back and watch Washington when they had Michael Penix Jr. at quarterback, Ryan Grubb was offensive coordinator. The passing game was essentially Ryan Grubb's running game. Okay, and it's kind of sad because we're so used to the ground and pound in Tuscaloosa. You know what I'm saying? But I do think as long as this particular staff stays together, we're going to see a lot more of that, which I'm not mad at. I'm not alarmed by that by any means. But I do think that at some particular point in time, you got to be able to get behind these pads and go and get you 4 or 5 yards when you need to get it, right? So I don't know if Jan Miller not playing has a lot to do with that. It looks like the offensive line is doing a decent job of getting push. I don't know if the gap integrity is there from the current running backs. I think they're kind of young. You know what I'm saying? I think holes are there. There's just some more work they got to do. But I say all that to say Ryan Grubb's main method of attack is going to be through the air. So I would say let's look forward to seeing a lot more of that. But again, if that happens to falter, you got to be able to put the ball on the ground and run it. So, I don't know what you think, Drew.
Yeah, I'm not too much like alarmed in the aspect of that we really haven't been able to find a consistent run game yet. But I think it is something. If it's not, Georgia's going to be the real test of it because we're going to have to run the ball against Georgia to beat Georgia. And I think that's what you kind of saw against the Tennessee game with Georgia last weekend in the aspect of Tennessee got up, but they couldn't drain that clock enough to get it to the point where they got to win the game. And then when you're depending on the pass, like how we've been depending on the pass this far this season, I think it is a recipe for success. But I just think with Bama losing game one, we don't have much room for error. And I think that just creates situations where if you do get down, if you have to play perfect, is passing the ball being your main source of success going to work all season long? And I think that's something that we have just not seen from Alabama yet. Coming from having Jalen Milroe last year to a new basically phase of quarterbacks and who we have now, I think we just have still, I hate to say it, we still got to watch and see. Our next game is against Georgia, so the biggest test of the season is coming up, and we got to have the answers for it. So, given this offense 2 weeks to prepare, we should have Jan Miller back. They said he could have played against Wisconsin, but they just kept him out an extra week just for safety wise. But
yeah,
we're gonna see against Georgia. I think Bama has a lot of potential when it comes to run game and pass game and that smash and dash type of offense, but with the weapons we got on the outside, we should have a decent run game. We shouldn't be able to struggle like we did against Wisconsin, no matter who's back there. And I think if that's what you want to say as concern, cool, but I'm not too worried about it. We'll see against Georgia.
And I also think film study has just gotten a little more difficult against Alabama. If you're a defensive coordinator of the opposing team, with Ryan Williams doing what he did, and I still think he drops. I don't know if it's mental lapses sometimes. He drops balls he should catch. I just don't want it to happen at the wrong time. But having Bernard and Williams at full strength, two kids that you got to pay attention to on the outside. And honestly, you can run Bernard anywhere, for real. I like him all over the place. All over the place. But to your point, Drew, all of this should be opening up the running game. And if they figure out how to open it up by using the pass to open up the run, we may have some problems in the SEC. But again, I'm not going there yet. We'll have to see what they do against Georgia.
Yeah. I'll say one concern I do have, though, outside of not just running the ball, though, is our play. And just to see if Kalen DeBoer and Ryan Grubb and that type of network know how to win certain games in the trenches. I have not seen that really happen in the past with this team yet. So we're going to see in the next couple of weeks. But that is a concern of mine, is just holding up in pass protection, holding up in run protection. I mean, I got question marks about our offensive line, to be honest with you.
Yeah. And then moving into Georgia, I know, Van, we can go ahead and move into to talk
Georgia,
about the Tennessee game or whatever. But the one thing about Georgia that's so concerning, what should be so concerning about to Alabama and everybody else that Georgia has to play, and they've been doing this forever, is they just don't roll over and die.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They don't roll over and die. You see Kirby Smart down 21 points in the first quarter. That's nothing. It's nothing.
Yeah.
Against anybody. It's nothing.
Yep. I'll point to that real quick, Sean. Is what we've been saying for the past couple of seasons. You can't let it be too close when it comes to halftime. In the second half, they're gonna go in the locker room and they figured you out. So you have to come out ready to play on your P's and Q's to compete in the second half. And Tennessee had their chances to go win that game.
They did.
I'm telling you feel for them because, dog, and if you were going to take it, that was the time to take it, especially in a game like that. But
I don't feel for them at all. They let that game go. They let it go. I can't feel for a team to just let it go at home. Yeah. If it was in Georgia, I would be like, okay, cool, I feel for them. But you was at home. You gotta
You gotta win.
Gotta win that game.
And the look on his face. Did y'all see the look on his face when he
Yeah,
came out for that game
I
winning
look
field
at
goal?
people's eyes before every kick. I promise you. In my head, I was thinking in my head the whole time. I was like, "Yeah, there's no way he's making this. There's no way."
They may as well have moved on to overtime.
Right, no way he's making this. But I texted in the group chat, and I was like, as an offensive coach, the statistics, the analytics on the kick after a offensive penalty is horrible.
Right.
They got down to like the 30-yard line, got a false start, and he said, "You know what? I give up. Let's kick it." I'm like, "No, no. They
Run
had
a play.
a game plan to get into the spot where that kicker wanted to get to make him confident. They
Right.
had plenty of time on the clock and timeouts left to still be able to run one more play to get one more thing positive to get that kicker back some confidence. Doing it after a false start, to me, it was a recipe for disaster, and it was like you iced your own kicker. Like, that's what it felt like. You really was on a momentum. That thing threw up your whole drive, and he's like, eyes so wide. That stadium got so loud for him, man. I knew he was gonna miss that kick, but I can't stand him, man. Can't stand him.
It was over, man. But I tell you what, Tennessee looked so good in the first half, though. Like,
yeah, they came out swinging.
I'm talking about. It reminded me of when they came out against us that year.
Yeah.
A couple years ago, and just took us out the game off the rip. I'm kind of like, there's no way you can stop this. This is unstoppable. That's how they look. But when I thought about it, and I saw Kirby Smart over there on the sideline when Tennessee scored that first touchdown, I saw Kirby Smart put you know how he put his hand over the mouthpiece.
Mm-hmm.
He said something to somebody. I don't know what he said, but whatever it was like, let's just chill out, like we always do.
Yeah.
Play football. We're gonna be all right. He's just really good there, calming everybody down. And again, I'm not sold on Gunnar Stockton. I'm not.
Yeah.
I think they had to force him to throw the ball down the field because everyone was talking about the fact that he could not do it.
Mm-hmm.
I think the recipe for disaster for Georgia is to continue to force Gunnar Stockton to throw the ball and get them in third and longs to where he has to throw the ball and actually think about making a decision, a 10, 15-yard throw. That's how you beat them. Tennessee did not do that in the second half of that game, and they let Gunnar Stockton get comfortable. Georgia's definitely beatable. I'm not sitting up here saying that they're a top 5 team right now, but what that means is Tennessee is damn sure. No, they're not. They're not. They're not a top 5 team right now.
Who you got above them right now? I don't see many top 5 teams if that's the case.
Georgia's not one of them. I'm going to give them coaching staff, and I'm going to give them some defense. They play the right team like they did in the playoff last year. They can get up on them and not let go. They're going to lose. There is a true recipe to beat Georgia. It's just whether or not they're playing teams that got the dogs and the coaches to do it. You know what I'm saying? These teams are on their schedule later on down the road, and they are going to have problems. They're going to have problems.
I think Georgia just got a fire lit under them that not many teams going to have the capability of putting out.
Yeah.
I think that is a true fact right there. I think Gunnar Stockton, I think we have to understand that he has the talent to be what everybody thinks he's not. He can be that quarterback. He was that quarterback in high school. And I know high school doesn't always transfer to college, but he can be a true gunslinger. He wants to be more of a dual threat than just a gunslinger. But I think, like you said, if you get him in rhythm early in the game, early in the second half, to where he can start making those throws, and some of those throws were on point throws. So it's not like he's just throwing a prayer up and hoping somebody comes down with it. That game-winning touchdown, or that game, I don't know, was it game tying or game winning in the fourth quarter?
It was a time drive.
It was 4th and 1, but it was like 4th and 1, 4th and short, like 40-yard pass down the sideline to the guy in the corner of the end zone. That was a beautiful, perfect pass that not many people in the country can throw that ball. So I think what you got to give Georgia is, if you got a quarterback that can make those throws, confidence is the last thing you want to give a team like that, and confidence is the last thing you want to give Kirby Smart with a team like that, because he's going to get that train rolling. And the run game is going to get rolling. That is going to get rolling with this team.
It will. It's going to be interesting. Yeah, it's interesting, but yeah, they'll be all right.
For sure. So while that game was ending, I was at the Carolina game, Carolina and Vandy. And I'll give Vandy their props. They're a decent team. I'm not saying they world beaters or competing for the SEC or nothing like that, but
Vanderbilt is gonna force us to talk good about them.
Yeah.
They ain't gonna die.
Yeah. ESPN's got them as a favorite going right now in the LSU matchup that they got LSU coming to them. But LSU's got their own problems. We'll get into them in a little bit. But just talking on South Carolina for a minute, being at the game, I understand it looked bad, the score's bad, everything like that. And there was certain moments in the game where you felt the tide turn in the game, like crowd, everything, so on and so forth, just was abysmal. But that first half of football was not as bad as the score ended up being, and I say that as it took me a couple days to go back and rewatch it. I'm feeling walking out of that game. I'm like, hey, the old offensive coordinator, what are we doing? The O line, what are we doing? So on and so forth. But going back and watching it from a tape perspective, the O line played probably their best game I've seen them play in a long time. I think just what happened score wise is they put themselves in a bad situation time and time again as a team and as a coaching staff. Shane took some gambles on fourth down a lot of the times during the game where I felt like you didn't need to. And then the one time you needed to was coming out of halftime. You're getting ready to go down and score. You're only down 7. You make it to near midfield. You got a 4th and 1, and you decide to punt the ball, and then Vandy goes down there and scores. And now you're grasping at straws because you're trying to figure out how can I get myself back in this game with a Vandy team that's going to limit your possessions throughout the ball game. Vandy likes to hold on to the ball. You only have 4 possessions in the first half. That's what Vandy wants to do. So out of those 4 possessions in the first half for South Carolina, though, the run game finally showed up. You look at Rasul got going. I'm talking about explosive runs. Give him the ball. Stop with this two-back system. We were talking before we got on about how last season we had the same situation in the first 3 games of the season where Old Dominion and Kentucky, you don't want to give Rocket Sanders the ball, and then LSU comes out. You're like, all right, we riding on Rocket. Rocket gets going, and you ride him for the rest of the season. I think that's for a quarterback like Lenore Sellers, the biggest compliment you can give him is a running back that's just as dangerous as he is. Because then on those read options, those RPOs, everything like that, you've got so many things you've got to worry about as far as the receivers. You got Nick Harbor finally playing like a receiver. He's playing great football. Lenore Sellers is a threat with his legs, and now you got Rasul that you got to account for also. But as a O line, you had some pride moments where you got guys running down the field, double pancaking somebody 10 yards past the play, getting up, high five ahead button. That's what you want to see. And then on top of that, um, the pass protection was good. You just had some bad decision making. But when Norris goes down, he's the only incompletion was the interception he had when they were driving into the end zone. Other than that, he was dot on for 100% with 13 yards per pass. I'll take that from him. You finally got a game where, as a total, you have more than 2 receivers on the stat sheet, just 2 receivers and a bunch of tight ends. You've got multiple people showing up throughout that game. So I think there's a lot to build on. Defense, I'm not too concerned about just because of the fact of I trust Clayton White. He's proved time and time again he can get this defense straight. I just think the effort after Lenore's got hurt just kind of went downhill. Once the score got past 2 scores, everybody's looking kind of you can see it, you can feel it, where everybody's just kind of like, all right, well, we let's pack this one up and go back. And say what you want. We got on the road going to Mizzou. I think it'll be a closer ball game than people think. I know Mizzou wants to run the ball, but I do think this Carolina defense is a pretty good defense. I just think they got tired. There's only so much you can do when you keep going forward on 4th down. You keep throwing your defense back out there time and time again, and it wears on you. It wears on you. So after a while, you're tired, you're gassed. That's how the score ends up, how it ends up. But all that being said, I think you've got a lot of positives coming out of this. From what I'm hearing after the press conference today, the coordinator, so on and so forth, some people on the inside have been talking and saying that Lenore's practiced yesterday and practiced today. Shane has a thing where if you don't practice on Tuesday and Wednesday, you're not playing. So the fact that he's already practicing this week lets me to believe, yeah, he's probably gonna play. This is a team that Shane Beamer hates. We hate Mizzou. Him and the other coach Drake, we don't like them. They go back and forth time and time again. This is the Mayor's Cup going down to the fake Columbia. So I mean it's gonna be interesting. But all in all, I think South Carolina's got some stuff to look forward to going forward. I don't think this score and everybody's kind of bailing on them could actually be a blessing in disguise. Gets that spotlight off of you, get back to playing football, so on and so forth, and go forward from here.
Okay. First of all, let's talk about Vanderbilt for a second. And this is hard for me, but I'm going to give them some props. They have done some. They've made some systemic change in the past 2 years with their new with their new coach, and it's something that we haven't seen at Vanderbilt since James Franklin was there. Okay, and I think it has to be spoken. There used to be a time where if you were playing Vanderbilt and your starting quarterback went out, you still won the game because it was Vanderbilt. You know what I'm saying? I think we're looking at a reincarnation of not a reincarnation, but we're looking at a new Vanderbilt, almost like, okay, if James Franklin had stayed at Vanderbilt, what would they have been? Right? This guy that Vanderbilt has, if he stays at Vanderbilt, what will they be? The problem for Vanderbilt is it's a stepping stone job if you do well, because you're playing in the toughest conference in the country, historically the worst team in the conference, and you've got this team to a bowl game 2 years in a row. Same thing that happened to James Franklin. Boom, I'm gone. You're going to a nice job because of what you did at Vanderbilt. That's the bad thing for Vanderbilt. The good news for Vanderbilt is this is the second time that it's happened that I know of where Vanderbilt has become a team that you cannot overlook. It means it's possible. It means it's actually possible to happen at Vanderbilt. Transfer portal has helped. Pavia has helped. They're committing a few turnovers. Like you said, man, they're controlling the clock. They're not committing turnovers. They're playing really clean football. They're getting in third and shorts to where it's really hard to figure out what they're going to do because they can do so many things. They're actually I want to say really, I'm going to say pretty. They're a pretty good football team. You know what I'm saying? And they were a pretty good football team last year. Carolina fans should not be upset for getting beat by Vanderbilt. Okay. Yeah. Vanderbilt's not a bad loss this year. And they're going to beat a few other people. Mm-hmm. Now, to Carolina, again, this is more of a compliment to Vanderbilt than an indictment on Carolina. If you get my drift. Yeah. Sellers going out, of course, really hurt. If he was still in the game, it would have been a very competitive game. But again, I just kind of got to compliment Vanderbilt here because they're just handling business, and they're not going to win the national championship, but they're doing a pretty good job right now, and I think that just can't be undersold.
They know who they are.
They know exactly who they are and exactly what they want to get done. And a lot of teams out there right now still are trying to figure it out. Vanderbilt's already got it. That's why they're going to beat. That's why they're going early in the season. They got probably 2 more weeks to catch some teams that don't know who they are yet because they do. I'm giving props.
So I got a lot to rebut about all of that right there. Even about South Carolina too. I think that game was going to be more impactful down the line than what we think of it today.
Yeah.
But overall, when I think about Vandy as a team, the reason why to me, yes, they are, I won't even say up and coming. They're a team that's scary right now.
You Brock for now. Yes.
Based on what Sean said, this team is not going to be this team for the next 5 to 7 years. No. So it's like, all right, cool. If you get caught by him, you get caught by him, and it's like, God damn, I got caught by him. I got bit by the snake. Okay, cool. In football today, this is why, to me, the SEC is the best conference over any other conference because of teams like Vandy that can catch a top up-and-coming team like South Carolina. You really don't see that type of wins that often in the ACC or in the Big Ten, where these smaller schools like, let's say like Purdue, for instance, beats a top-tier team like a Michigan or something. Not the best team in the conference, but somebody up-and-coming that's trying to run at a conference championship. Losing a conference game this early in the season for South Carolina is detrimental to what they want to get done in the long run of this season, which is why I think this game, and it's a heartbreaker because it's the same exact feeling you had after LSU last year. It's an
Yeah.
early season loss that we shouldn't have had because our quarterback got hurt. It's the exact same replica. So coming out of that, it's almost gonna be in the same type of field that Bama's in aspect of like panic mode. Like we gotta play perfect ball. We can't slip up. And it honestly creates more mistakes. So in the
Mm.
aspect of what that game was for South Carolina, I think it was a huge game to lose. I think there's so many positive points coming out of that game that you can say, you know what, we can correct these and be better going down the line in the rest of these conference games. But for the juncture of Vandy beating South Carolina, Vandy can. I don't think they're gonna take that game and run with it because they're
Right.
not getting to the.
Still,
They're not
they
getting.
still gonna be who they are. They
They're not
still gonna have.
right. Yeah, they're not getting to the conference championship. They're not getting to the playoffs. So it's like you're still at the end of the day gonna be a middle of the pack SEC team, but you gotta win on a team that was really had a chance to be based on what the SEC is right now, a conference contender.
Yeah.
I know we lost Sean a little bit. We got to get him back, but I think that game is such a huge standpoint in what this season is going to be for the SEC. And there's going to be maybe 3, 4 more like that, that teams that are going to be going for the SEC championship are going to get picked off. And I think that just shows how strong this conference is, especially with the transfer portal.
Yeah.
Teams, if I'm looking somebody that's been bounced around, I'm trying to look for a school I can go to get a couple big wins in the season, get my name out there.
Hmm.
Vandy's one of those teams. I think that's
Yeah.
something we can't overlook. But
Yeah.
this question is, I know you got a couple points you want to say. You can put on this at the end. What is up with Aaron Nolan? Is he just too young?
I said the same thing. It's being in the stadium. I'm like, why are we trotting Luke Doty back out here? I
Right.
understand he probably knows the playbook the best. I understand he's the veteran, but you've got a guy that in Aaron Nolan, who was this prize recruit going into Ohio State. He transfers out of Ohio State, comes to South Carolina. He's supposed to be raved about in this offseason. Talking about, oh yeah, he resembles um, Spencer as far as arm talent, so on and so forth. He's not as mobile, but has all the attributes. And then Cutter gets there, that local kid from South Carolina. They say he gets out there and starts dealing around. They said honestly, he might be quarterback 3 over Aaron Nolan.
And
But it's
that's
still, to me, it's crazy, yes. But the thing to me is I would have put either one of the two of them, especially in this game, especially if it's when the score got down, when you're in it's 28 to 7.
right.
Put them in there. Let's see what we got. It can't be any worse than what's going on. There's no battling back into the ball game. You can already tell your defense is gassed. You're trotting backups out there in the secondary. Hey, just pack it up. Dylan Stewart gets tossed, all this and that. But from what I've heard, is just that third string spot is just that close, and that Luke has looked the best in practice. And this is something Shane has said time and time again during his tenure here at South Carolina, and that is he values practice above all else. You've got to practice good to be on the field. And I think it bites him in the rear end sometimes because you got some talented kids that maybe in practice they get some little things wrong, but then you put them in the game, in those situations in the game, and they flourish. Look at
Right.
Mazio Bennett last season. Mazio was one of the guys coming into the season where you're like, hey, who's going to be our third and fourth string receiver behind Jared Brown and Nick. And then you've got some injuries to Jared and LSU. You've got Vendravius Jacobs got hurt early in the season, which forces you to play Mazio. And then you figure out, oh, he's a bona fide slot guy. You saw he played good against his coming out party was the Alabama game. Had some big time catches, got a touchdown, so on and so forth. He played good in the Kentucky game also in game 2. But to be able to use your young guys and you don't know what you've got until you put them on the field. And to me, I think that's one of his biggest, not gripes, because I understand the logic behind it. You're like, hey, you're not practicing good, we can't put you in the game. But you've got guys who've been highly rated for a reason. They've been
Right.
playing good. There are times where else they're coming from, whether it's high school, which is why Donovan Murphy's been playing, and so on and so forth. But I think it's that, and I think the whole situation that they have with trying to figure out rotations. It's been my biggest gripe going into last season. people can't get hot if they not playing.
Right.
Like I understand practice and everything like that, but you game reps matter, and you got to get hot at the right time. Rocket Sanders last season, you had to get him going. He had to go to the coaching staff and say, "Hey, I need more touches. I need more carries. If you do this for me, I'm going to get going." And it worked. I think the same thing happened in this game with Rasul Faison. He was the guy, the starter coming into the game, got some big time rushes going off. And of course, the score gets bad, so you got to lean away from running the ball because possessions are already short because you're playing Vandy. But getting people those type of reps are going to be the biggest thing when it comes to South Carolina. But I think there's a lot to look forward to, and I don't want to make this. We're 30 minutes in right now, just reviewing last week's thing. I know there's one more game I want to touch on real quick, but I think South Carolina will be all right. I think they'll be decent. I think if Lenore's can't go this weekend, and if you trot Luke Doty out there, you got a quarter because Mizzou's gonna run the ball. You're limited. If Luke can't get it done, you got to go look and see what Aaron Nolan or Cutter Woods has anything. You got to see who can make a spark while the North is out. You
I
can't
think
pack it like
I think it's the opposite though, Van.
what?
And this is my last point about South Carolina going into Missouri game is you might as well go ahead and see what you got with the other quarterbacks. We know what Luke Doty is. Luke Doty been there for 15 years at this point. He's been there since Connor Shaw was a quarterback at South Carolina.
I get
He's been there since Savell Newton was a quarterback at South Carolina. Like we know what Luke Doty is. He's not the guy to get us over a game like this, which is going to be surprisingly competitive. I
Yeah,
think Sellers is going to play, but for
I
the
think so.
rest of the season, we got to have a solid backup
Yeah,
because this team has honestly got too much potential to not have a solid backup that can at least be a game manager. Now,
yeah,
being down like Vandy, that's a tough situation, but I'm not a supporter of Luke Doty. I hate seeing him out there as a quarterback. I'm just like, I'd rather you see him, put him on
yeah,
the sign, let him throw some signals up in the air as a play caller, but
yeah. The
I'm
thing,
sorry.
the,
You got
the
what you
thing,
got out of Luke Doty.
yeah, the thing with him, Shane came out already this season and said if Lenore's can't go, Doty's gonna be the guy for the Missouri game, and
I mean, I
I
get
mean,
that. I get that because of
yeah,
as a
you
coach,
know, your choice, yeah, would be
and
to
the coach of
play
who he
one of the young
is.
guys.
I'm like, all right, cool. We in desperation mode at this point. We
Yeah,
lose two conference games. We go back to back conference losses. We might as well go ahead and kiss this season goodbye. Might as well kiss
yeah.
it goodbye.
I don't want to hear nothing about no 6 game winning streak to end the season and all this and that. Oh, we need to get in the playoff. No, these is when you make the tough decisions on who's going to be out there on the field and go play. It's these moments. You can't have a
Mm-hmm.
situation last season where Lenore's misses a game. You got a bye week. So you got 2 games that you could win right now before you got to go to Baton Rouge.
Right.
You better figure something out. Now the O line's coming together. You got to build on it, especially right now with LSU not playing good offense. And I'm gonna segue that into LSU Florida game real quick, and then we'll talk about next week's games. But South Carolina's got an opportunity right now. That this is one of those moments that I've been frustrated with Shane that he won't pull the trigger to make changes. He waits until it's a little too late, and then you're on the back end of the season. It's like, oh, well, we got some big upsets, and I'm vouching for my team. It's like, well, if you had did this 2-3 weeks earlier, we really could have put ourselves in a good position. So we'll see how it turns out. We'll see how they look this weekend. But Florida, we had a big discussion last live about the Florida Gators and how the outlook of their season is going to go and so on and so forth. And surprisingly, LSU's popped into this discussion right now where it looks like their outlook has absolutely flip-flopped from the last couple of seasons where you've got a dynamic offense and no defense. Now you've got a dynamic defense going on right now. Your offense kind of looks lackluster. You're missing some points. You're missing some throws. Things aren't going your way. You can't put up points even against lesser opponents. So what is the deal right now with this game? What did y'all take from this game? This what y'all think?
So Brian, I'm gonna be quick with my assessment of this game. LSU goes as far as Brian Kelly takes them. Um, I need to see more from them. I do think that they're ranked too high currently. Um, are they a good team? Yeah, they're a good team. But I need Brian Kelly to just show me more from as a coach. So when you get up on the podium and someone asks you a question about the tight ends and you off, you defending your players, or do you realize as a problem you're not necessarily ready to really talk about the media? And this is about the whole offense as a whole. And I'll start talking about tight end. That's where the media versus question started from. But uh, you know,
You
the
break it up
team,
all the time.
like you said, man,
Yeah, Sean,
Brandon,
you all glitched out, man.
okay, all right, you know what? Then we got some weather on. Go ahead.
It's all good. See
Awesome.
if you can connect to your computer on your phone or something like that. Get back in. But real
Yeah.
quick, on LSU, I think one of the biggest things, kind of talking about, I want to touch on what Sean was saying real quick, and kind of like LSU go as far as Brian Kelly will take them. I think what you're seeing right now with LSU is they're trying to get through the kinks of early season just woes. And I think that the biggest point of what you gotta understand is their defense is legit.
Yeah.
Their defense secondary is legit. Their pass rush is legit. Having Harold Perkins in that star position where he could just kind of just lurk quarterbacks and blitz randomly is like almost like Michael Parsons-esque type of atmosphere in the end. It's something that I think a lot of teams gonna have to pay attention to in the future. Their offense to me is going to come along.
Yeah.
Only question mark I truly have for their offense is can Garrett Nussmeier stay away from too many turnovers? Too many turnovers. But even in the game like against Florida specifically, Florida played probably one of their worst offensive games behind DJ Lagway's probably worst offensive game of his career. And throughout a lot of that game, they still had a chance to win.
Yep.
But the fact that their defense can keep shutting the door, even though their offense had woes, is something that I was like walking away from that game. It was like, yeah, that is something that we're gonna have to hold on to. Because if Garrett Nussmeier, I think he is a top 5 quarterback this year. If he can
Hmm.
have a defense behind him like that, I can make mistakes and still win games.
Yeah.
But as long as Brian Kelly does not get in gosh darn way, which I feel like even in certain moments in that game, until they knocked his butt on the ground with that rough unsportsmanlike penalty on the sideline. I felt like he was trying to give that game back to Florida. And I just
Yeah.
felt like there's so many opportunities that Florida had, but DJ Lagway just kept throwing pick after pick after pick. We can't expect a lot of teams to do that all through the season, but I think what we can expect is LSU's defense to be present, holding teams to around 14 to 20 points a game. I think that is a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's gonna be huge. And you can just see the all they were waiting on when they switched and went out and got that defensive coordinator was he felt like he needed to get his guys in the building.
Right.
And for to run the defense he wanted to run. And they went and they gave LSU, the donors, everybody, whoever you want to call it, that gave the money to go in the transfer portal get guys. They went out and got aggressive and got his hand selected players for this system. And you see it turning around right now. This defense is doing what they want to you. You've seen it every single game against top qualities, talent, and opponents. You saw it against Clemson, shut that Clemson team down. And Clemson's got their own issues going on and they dealing with. But you go up against a team like Florida that has as much talent, I think, as a lot of other teams in the SEC. They just don't have the coaching staff behind them. But for them to go out and go up against a guy like Lagway and literally bait him. There were some of the interceptions that were just like luck intercept, not luck interception, but skill interception, one-on-one ball or you throwing it or it's a missed
Yeah,
throw.
yeah. No,
They
I,
had some interceptions in that game where it's like people were moving certain ways because I know you're going to throw it here if I go here and boom, I'm going to take the ball away from you. That type of stuff is what makes defenses elite. And when you see stuff like that, it makes you think like, hey, they're going to, like you said, Drew, the offense is going to be able to have time to figure games out and figure the offense out throughout the season because your defense is that good. You're going to be able to have yourself in ball games and say, hey, I can not score until close to halftime or second quarter. I don't have to score in the first quarter because I know our defense is somebody we can lean on and handle business.
but the reason I would say this, watching that game, I watched that game and I watched some highlights of that game real closely. For LSU's defense, their outside corners, man, they really lock down corners to
Yeah,
where it forces so much congestion in the middle of the field to where if you're not confident in your reads and your ball placement, they can get jumped, which you saw a couple of clicks. And it was like, all right, cool. Man, I would even say this though. DJ Lagway with the game he had, I felt like my position on him changed as a player when he could have ran that person down on the sideline for that pick six and he chose. It was almost a decision making. Like, I'm not going to go tackle this kid.
Yeah.
And to see the game be a 20-10 game where it could have been a 13-10 game in the fourth quarter with you throwing 5 picks, it was like, all right, that's a hard thing. And even with LSU winning that game, LSU's got some problems they got to find out before Ole Miss. That they know that, and I feel like that's relevant with the offense. But I think they got the talent and the ability to figure those things out. But for LSU to keep a team like Florida, I don't know if it's a fault for LSU or a positive for Florida. I don't know what to come out of that game. I want to say a positive for Florida just because of all the rave I gave them early in this season and DJ Lagway as a Heisman candidate quarterback. But man, that was an interesting game. Florida's got LSU's got 2 weeks to get their act together because Lane Kiffin is coming to look in and messing up their season in a couple weeks.
They got to go two Ole Miss.
I know that's why I
They
said
on the road, yeah.
that season up and a long road to Ole Miss is a game LSU fans have to win. Y'all got to win that game at Ole Miss to keep y'all season in top 5 projections.
And I don't know if y'all paid attention to Ole Miss in their game against
Arkansas,
but they got a quarterback. They got a guy. Like, I'm not.
That's not even serious though. They had the backup in that was out there balling.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
but I say this though, I think the backup might be close to Simmons.
This kid.
All right, cool. Sean, you put on a perfect point. Ole Miss the last 2 weeks versus Kentucky and then versus Arkansas is a tale of two quarterbacks that
two different teams.
I probably has Lane Kiffin up at night going crazy.
Trying to figure it out.
Because I'm like, Simmons was the guy all the hype, but in his first SEC competition game, he did not play great against Kentucky.
Yeah.
So to have everything happen against Arkansas, which I was watching that film as well too, and I'm like, that's something. Missing LSU in 2 weeks is going to be an interesting game.
And listen, it's not so much that the kid's got talent, but the kid is a perfect fit. I'm talking about the backup,
right?
For what Lane Kiffin wants to do,
right?
He's a perfect fit. So if this kid can do what he did against Arkansas, if Lane Kiffin can put him, get him in the game, whatever, he continues to do this kind of stuff, he could be a problem in Lane Kiffin's offense. You know what I'm saying? Like, on down the road, maybe this year, but you're right though, Drew. Lane got some decisions to make. He really, really does. Because I don't think he was expecting for old dude to come in and do what he did. I was like, wait a minute, who is this?
But the thing is, though, Sean, I think Lane Kiffin is becoming a better head coach in these last 2 years than what was the previous tender was.
Right.
I think he's planning ahead. LSU's biggest problem with their defense that I can see and what's been a concern is if they run up against a quarterback that knows how to truly run the ball.
Right.
That's what you saw last weekend against Arkansas. A quarterback that can beat you in the air and beat you on the ground. For LSU, right. if I got a defense as strong as LSU's defense, I'm happy to throw in the quarterback that can be the most creative. At least in certain situations, if it's not the whole game. So I think Lane Kiffin is almost kind of like what Kalen DeBoer did early in the season with when he throw in Matt, I forgot his name, Austin Matt,
right?
Against Louisiana Monroe, and kind of just seeing, let me just see what I got in my backup. Worst case scenario, something were to happen if Simmons were to go down or we're in a situation where he's playing bad and he's throwing 3 interceptions. I got to bring this guy off the bench. Now is the time to get it done, and they executed that offense perfectly with him, and it's a cause for concern for a lot of teams. And I think they're going to have a good game this week, but next week, 2 weeks from now versus LSU is truly going to be – that's going to be a game to watch for the SEC shape up and how this conference is going to turn out. But there's so many good things to point out about Ole Miss right now. But LSU, you got to find out your offense this weekend. And y'all part of my parlay this weekend. So LSU, I need y'all to step it up. To step it up real quick.
That's right.
One thing I want to play a part in. I want to wrap this live up, but I put money on college football every weekend. I'll say that for a fact. I'm not proud of it. I put some type of money on college football every weekend.
You're the only one.
There's a guy down in Texas that threw my parlay this weekend. and I don't know how to feel about it. I want to say I talked this guy up so much early in the season, and he threw my parlay. He couldn't get 250 passing yards in my parlay, and I was like, "There's no way he can't get that."
Come on, Arch.
We got to talk about Arch motherfucking Manning. What is going on down there in Austin, Texas? Y'all a little more clued in with
Right.
what's going on in Austin, Texas than me right now. I am about to sell all my Arch Manning stock in the next 72 hours. If I don't get some type of news from somebody.
Right. So I got a little tea. I got a little tea. So and y'all may know this, and I don't know if this is contributing factors, but we're gonna go way back to high school. Arch Manning played at a 2A school. He was a very large quarterback, very agile quarterback, with a Manning name on his back, playing at a 2A school. I'm starting to kind of understand this a little better now because we're going to high school football games or whatever. There is a difference between 6A, 7A, and 2A, 3A. There's a humongous difference. Another thing I never knew, y'all might have, but I don't think a lot of folks knew at the time. But the Mannings, they didn't let Arch throw outside of what you would pick up on high school film. He didn't go to many camps. He didn't do much. Now I don't know if that's because they thought he was good enough and they were like, "Hey, we're done." Like these big projected first round draft picks in Indianapolis for the NFL Combine. Say, I'm not going to throw this weekend because I know I'm going number one. I don't know if they had that mentality or whether they knew there were flaws. So the guy gets to Texas and he looks really good in practice. I'm seeing this more and more, even at the middle school level here in Alabama. Some of these kids look real good in 7-on-7, throwing the ball against air. They look real good, even with shells on.
Nico,
but there's no contact. Go ahead, Drew.
Nico,
right?
7 prospect,
right? You know what I'm saying? So, but when you get the guns firing, when you take the yellow jersey off, and you take the yellow cap off the helmet, it's a little different. And I think that's what I'm hearing. That's what Arch's problem is. He never dealt with adversity in high school. He never really had to worry about getting pressure in high school because he could always use his legs to get out and throw. He just looked really good in high school playing against inferior talent. I'm not saying the kid is not a good quarterback or he's not a good quarterback prospect or start can't make him into a first round draft pick. He is definitely overhyped, though. Extremely overhyped. That's my team.
Well, real quick, I'll say a couple points. I understand the talent level at the schools like that. Because coming from a 5A school like Spring Valley, I was at, being in the offense, playing against real talent and stuff like that, transferring to a private school division, private school league, it was strategically to get more looks because I'm going against inferior talent. Strategic, which it worked out because I didn't get a full scholarship, but I did get connections to lead me to college ball where I got in at Charleston Southern where I can actually play college ball. But understanding what Arch was doing, yes, if I know my kid isn't as talented, I want to make sure he's not going up against the most talented players to get him in a position like he is at Texas. And I think what happened is I felt this. It was a small thought in my mind when his granddad came out and talking to NFL scouts and said that, "Oh, Arch ain't coming out in just 1 year."
Yeah.
I was like, well, okay, I hear that. But if my child is in a top 5 projection pick, top 3 overall pick, he's leaving the college He's leaving the college level. I don't care what NIL does. I don't care about none of that. We're out of here. We're going if we're in top 5 projections, which going into this year, they had him as one of the best quarterbacks in the country. To see how undeveloped he is puts a screeching halt on Texas as a whole. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it is enough time to fix it this year. I think Arch has to stay another year, maybe 2 more years.
Oh, he got to. He can't leave.
2 more years, though. I'm saying maybe 2 more years, though, Sean. Maybe as a redshirt senior, which is incredible. Which I don't know if Texas is going to be the team he can be there that whole time.
For that long, not with the pressure that Texas has on them as a school.
And I don't think that I think his issue is one of 2 things. There is an injury that they are not letting go yet.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah,
my
on the shoulder
Or
problem.
he is just not good under the spotlight of pressure because he's never been there.
he can't make simple throws right now. That's what makes me think it's an injury. Slants, he not hitting them on time. It looked awkward. And even wide open people down the field, he can't hit them.
But in a game like last weekend, where you have a truly inferior opponent, when you go 10 incomplete passes, there's more glaring issues than
Going on. Yep.
Yeah.
just chemistry
Yeah.
or offensive talent. They're talking about, oh, we lost all this stuff, or we lost all this stuff in offense. Hell, get that bullshit out of here.
Yeah.
Texas is the #1 ranked preseason team in the country.
Sark is your coach.
And
Steve
they have gotten to
Sarkisian is
look
your head
like
coach.
since they stepped on the field first, second against Ohio State. We gave Ohio State, okay, cool. You was going to Ohio State defense. You're going against an NFL defensive coordinator that came down to college level. He put something out there week 1 that you just wasn't ready for. We gave you a break. We gave you a break in week 2. But to have that type of showing in week 3 versus another inferior team, it was like, okay,
This is
cool.
the problem.
It's worse as the season's going on. We have a problem in Austin, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to it could be the end. If y'all got other topics, we could talk about Oklahoma, Auburn real quick. But for last season, for going for the rest of the season, I mean, for last week going to the rest of the season, Texas has to be my #1 team on hot seat alert.
Mm-hmm.
It is bad. It is
Yeah.
bad after watching that game.
Yeah, it
It's
really is, man. And they and there's something to be said about these quarterbacks that perform well without pads and the ones that perform well with pads. It's almost like it's two different sports. You know what I'm saying? 707 or flag and 707 and actual tackle football. Even for running backs and wide receivers, maybe not wide receivers or skill positions, but kids that run the ball, linemen, they don't even participate in 707. So I don't even, what is it for real? But he got to figure it out. But he does have a true freshman down there from Alabama, from Saraland, Alabama.
Yeah.
That I think if he plays one more bad game, he might be forced to put this kid in. And if he puts this kid in, I don't know if Arch gets it back. That's all I'm gonna say. I don't know if he gets it back.
Well, I'll say this before Van, if you have anything to say about that, if they do that, there's going to be some injury to come up.
Oh,
it will be an injury.
100%.
There's going to be some injury to come up.
Right. It ain't gonna be we benched him because he wasn't good enough. That's not gonna be what it's gonna be.
Yeah, no, Texas is interesting because I think they are talented. But Arch, if you watch his game, and I watched him, I was like, you know what? This had to be the week where he goes crazy because just the first 2 weeks, I was like, it just ain't clicking. But this was the week I said he had to go crazy. And I see that he didn't. I was like,
yeah,
okay.
It's tough, man. It's tough.
I had the perfect parlay in place. Arch, if you ever get across this podcast, I had the perfect parlay in place. Everybody hit but you.
We live and we learn, brother.
Man, please. I learned. I didn't lose a lot, but I lost what I could have gained, and that hurt. That hurt, man. I was like, damn.
I'm shocked too, man. Like I said, I'm shocked too. Like I said,
But real quick, just for the sake of what we can get some content out there, man, we do want to talk about this Oklahoma Auburn game of the week for SEC real quick, coming up this week in week 4. Real quick, I do want to point, I don't have much to say on this game just because I think it is two teams that I know more about Oklahoma than I do about Auburn because that's just what I've been watching in primetime games. But Oklahoma is a dark horse in the SEC right now.
mm-hmm.
Is a dark horse in the SEC right now, just based off of talent they have on their team in the prime positions like quarterback, offensive line, defensive line, and secondary. Going into this game right here, I'm going to make a quick prediction. I got them beating Auburn by at least 14. I got them in on 2 touchdowns. 2 touchdown win. What y'all think about this game coming up real quick?
As high as I am on Auburn, the problem for them is they're playing an extremely talented defensive head coach in Brent Venables. The key here for Venables is going to be stop the quarterback from running the ball. Stop him from running because now Auburn got a #1 wide receiver. They got a 1. They got a 1. But but the one he gets set up by the quarterback, right? But by what the quarterback is doing. I'm not saying one, I mean, he's a great wide receiver, but he does not have what I would consider a true passing quarterback delivering the ball to him. You got a quarterback that gets out the pocket, he moves off script, does everything Hugh Freeze needs a quarterback to do. You know what I'm saying? This is Hugh Freeze's quarterback. We're going to find out how good of a coach Hugh Freeze is. Hugh Freeze needs this game more than Venables does, because if Hugh Freeze has another losing season, I believe he's gone. I think he's gone. Brent Venables has one. He's got another bad season, I believe, in him before Oklahoma lets him go. But I think he feels the pressure. And he's also pretty highly ranked right now with a pretty good doggone football team. So Auburn does not have enough. Brent Venables is too good of a defensive head coach to let Auburn and their number one beat them. I'm with you, Drew. I've got Oklahoma 34-20.
Oh, okay. I like that. That's a good score.
Yeah.
I had a little lower score than that. I had like 21-7.
Yeah.
21-3.
Yeah. Points going to be scored. Points will be scored. Points are going to be scored. Auburn's going to manufacture a few big plays. Auburn's going to put themselves in position during this game. That 34-20 is deceptive because the game was a lot closer than the score indicates.
Yeah, I can see that.
But I don't know if Auburn is running the ball well enough right now outside of the quarterback. And when Venables stops the quarterback from running the ball and forces him to throw, or them run the ball traditionally, I think that's where Auburn gets themselves tripped up.
I can see that, and I really can't see that in this game.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I got Oklahoma taking this one. I think it'll be closer than a lot of people think. I think what's helping Oklahoma right now is that they've got a bona fide quarterback. And this is what they would been missing to go along with that defense. Now, the same issue I pointed out a couple weeks ago doesn't seem to be a glaring issue, but it's still something to keep note of, and that's running the football. I think they get caught up in the big explosive plays. Not saying you gotta run it, but you start getting into these SEC opponents, it's a factor to stay on the field. When you get in third and short, I know you got John Mateer, he's doing what he's supposed to be doing, but all in all, he should be good. I think this whole thing with Arnold coming back, Oklahoma may not get a chip on the shoulder. Right now, the game is only a what is this? It's a 6-point spread right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I believe so. But all in all, Oklahoma should win this one. I think Auburn is good. They're proving a lot of the doubters wrong about what was going on this offseason, but Auburn's one of those teams where they get a couple of wins rolling early, and then the season just flips over. They go on the exact same number losing streak that they did winning streak on. But 100%, Mateer is a legit guy. He's a stud.
Mm-hmm.
He's out here wheeling and dealing. He's making plays going on. This is what a lot of people around the country wish they had on their team. But Oklahoma should take this one. They're at home. The crowd's going to be into it, as much of a crowd as you can get in Oklahoma. This is one of the staple venues in college football.
They'll be right.
And Brent Venables, I think, he's got what he's been looking for the last couple of years to finally be what people thought they were going to be.
Yeah.
So
and don't forget the winner of this game, whether the public wants to realize this or not, outside of Georgia, the winner of this game, in my opinion, on paper, becomes the second best team in the SEC. On paper.
If Oklahoma wins, yes. If Auburn wins, I don't
maybe
see
not, right? But you know what I'm saying.
I know what you're saying with that.
You follow me though, right? I mean, they're like, if you look at record, both these teams have had, wins against non-conference opponents, be it Baylor or whatever. It had happened. You know what I'm saying? And then you go and stand up against a ranked SEC opponent, and you win that game. Even if Auburn wins that game on the road, I'm sorry, y'all. If Auburn wins that game on the road, they're going to be talked about. I ain't saying like they're the second best team in the SEC for real, but they're going to get some notoriety and recognition if they come into Oklahoma and win this game. Hugh Freeze will be resurrected.
No, I agree. He needs this win way more
He
than
needs it bad.
Vanderbilt's need this win. But I think when you think about overall picture for SEC from this game, I don't think this game is going to have too much big SEC whatever the word is. I can't even think of the word. It's not going to have too much results for SEC off this game. Just because Oklahoma, I think they're going to win this game pretty easily, to be honest with you. But I think their schedule for SEC after this
That's what I was about to say.
is just dire. Like you're not going to escape that whole schedule. There's no way you're going to escape that whole schedule. So
you gotta have this one.
if you lose this one for Oklahoma, I almost want to say your season might be gone. If you win this one, it might just be okay. You've got us excited for your next big matchup.
Yeah.
But it's not saying we're excited enough to say that you're going to win the SEC or even be in the SEC championship yet. Not yet.
Because right now I got Oklahoma with A&M. I got them kind of on that same plane with A&M. You know what I'm saying? And I can throw Bama in that same conversation with Oklahoma, and you know what I'm saying, with them. Like second tier.
Now, the same thing kind of goes for Auburn now too. Not that they're on that level, but you look at Auburn's next 4 opponents, all ranked. You got Oklahoma, got to go to A&M. Georgia comes to you, and then you got Missouri.
Shit.
Like that's a gauntlet. You let this slip from you, you might not
go downhill
win the game,
right?
Until you go to Arkansas,
right?
So that's how quickly it can flip,
right? And that thing can get out of control quick. Yeah. So it's gonna be interesting. I can't wait.
Yeah, real interesting. One last thing though before we get off tonight. A couple big games I want everybody to take note of. I'm gonna die on this hill this season just because I stood on it so strongly in the first couple lives. Watch Florida versus Miami. Miami is on upset alert. Carson Beck's career flashed before his eyes last year against Florida for the first time. Expect some ghosts to come back up in that game right there. And then, hey, one of the teams I predict is going to make the college ball playoff is Utah. 12 p.m. game versus Texas Tech in the money pit in Texas. Utah is going to drag Texas Tech. I got them winning by like 20 points. Offense is too unstoppable. 2 games. Miami versus Florida and Utah versus Texas Tech. Just fun football games that people can watch. Tune in to those.
You got me watching Utah now. You know what I'm saying? You got me paying attention to Utah. What's going over there with the youth down there? And
I like it.
We'll see. I'm gonna keep watching, man. Other than that, man, I'm straight. I'm good.
Oh yeah.
I was gonna say another. I called the Georgia Tech game against Clemson last week.
You did.
I think I might have another one. Well, no, I ain't gonna say that. I just gonna be something to keep an eye on if it's close. Right? Is Vandy riding too high for Georgia State to come in?
No.
They beat them last season. Is it on their mind to think, that we finally made it, we here, so on and so forth. And Georgia State got their new quarterback. The journeyman himself, TJ Finley, coming back to a SEC. SEC.
The 12-year starter, TJ Finley. This man played for what? Arkansas, Auburn. He been everywhere.
He been everywhere. He been down.
One fact. TJ Finley's senior year in high school back in 2013. I actually played him in high school. Back in 2013. I didn't know that. Crazy fact. No, I'm just messing with y'all. I'm just playing. But he's been in football long and football's been alive, man. He was back when helmets didn't even have chin straps, man.
If he'd have stayed in one place, he might be all right.
Right.
Yeah, I got you. That's just a funny tidbit. I ain't see Vandy gonna take care of them. They got their next big time opponent coming on later down. But I thought that was funny. We got TJ Finley back on the SEC field yet again after later enrolling at a new school.
He done played everywhere. I done played every school. I done played everywhere in the country.
Yeah, I remember when he came to Carolina during COVID, the 2020 with Auburn. He came down here and Jason Brown beat him. Jason Brown, the third-string quarterback from Carolina, went toe-to-toe with TJ Finley at Auburn. Well, that's funny.
I say, who was the quarterback? Was TJ Finley the quarterback in the 4th and 31 versus Jalen Milroe? At Auburn, was that same year? Who's the quarterback?
It was no. Well, no. That wasn't.
He gave Bama one year. I don't know which year it was. He gave.
It was an overtime game though. It was an overtime game.
Hold on. I'm gonna tell you right now.
Bama won the game.
That had to be Bryce Young's game.
It was Bryce Young.
Hey, Bryce Young's best game of his career. Either that game versus Auburn or the game against Tennessee where we lost. But
when TJ Finley.
Yeah,
Yeah,
TJ Finley was
they
all
really
the
gave
quarterback.
Alabama a run for their money.
Because look,
Good.
Alabama had to win that game to make it to the playoffs.
Yes, sir.
They were not going if they didn't win that game.
Let me see here.
100%, man. That jump was crazy. I remember him. He had a hurt leg in in overtime or something like that.
But TJ Finley threw some amazing balls in overtime too.
100%.
Was that
That one he catch
2022?
with the tight end in the back of his zone.
Right.
Was
He
that
threw some
2022
amazing
or
balls.
2021?
That'd be like 2022.
2 years ago, 3 years ago.
Yeah, 2022.
Mm-hmm.
He had to do it Auburn then. I promise you that.
Yeah,
I
TJ
remember
Finley.
him back then.
This man been everywhere. Texas State,
Yeah.
West Kentucky, LSU. Hey,
Crazy,
Yeah.
man.
that's crazy. But all right, y'all. Hey, appreciate y'all sitting in with us. We'll circle back next week. Make sure y'all comment, subscribe, get that bell notification on, hit the like, share it, everything in between. But until then, enjoy some good football this weekend, and we will catch y'all next week.
That's it.
Yes, sir. Sounds great.